Good day, hope you're doing well. In today's video, I'm going to give you a couple of tips and tricks regarding Auto ISO in Nikon cameras. So this can be quite useful if you're shooting in manual mode or even aperture or shutter speed priority. So right now my camera is set in manual mode, so that's the little M, 1/200 of a second and f4. ISO is set to 400 and you can see that I'm underexposing the scene by about 2 stops. So of course you could change the ISO until you have a proper exposure, but it's way easier to just use Auto ISO and let the camera decide on the proper ISO level. So the normal way of doing that, or the most basic way of doing it, is by going into the menu, the shooting menu. You have to scroll down all the way to ISO sensitivity settings, and then you can switch on Auto ISO. So right now, if you do that, you will see that I'm still at 1/200 of a second, f4, but the camera has chosen ISO 1600 instead of 400, and now we have a proper exposure. Now this can be a little bit of a long and tedious way of changing your ISO sensitivity setting from, auto on versus auto off. So there is actually a shortcut, and you don't have to do anything for this as far as I know. Most recent Nikons, DSLRs and Z cameras as well, they have a little bit of a shortcut. So imagine that you are taking photographs. Right now Auto ISO is on. Let's switch it off for a second so you can, let's get back to the base status. So it's off. ISO 400, and you want to switch Auto ISO on. All you need to do is press the ISO button, and instead of changing the ISO to a specific value, all you need to do, that's what you do with the rear dial. All you need to do is you have to use the front dial, and you can switch on Auto ISO, and if you keep turning that front dial, it goes off and on. So this is now on, off, etc. So you just switch it on, and there you go. Easy peasy. What you can also do is, because as you can see when you go to Auto ISO, you have a bunch of other options. Well, a bunch, 2. Your maximum sensitivity and your minimum shutter speed. I like to be able to quickly access this. So the way I do it is, instead of going to the shooting menu and then trying to find this one setting, what I do is I actually put one item in my menu. So right now my menu is completely empty, but I add that one item from the shooting menu. Now you have to scroll really way down because it's all the way at the bottom. Well, I mean the last page. So ISO sensitivity settings, you just press OK. OK again to confirm. And now I have one item in my menu, so that's cool. And the other thing that I do then is I go into Custom Setting menu, subsection F for controls, and then I find the function button. So F4 is assigned function button, and what I do, so on the front of the camera you have 2 buttons, the top one and a bottom one. So now we're talking about the bottom one. That's your function button. So right now it's doing nothing. Just right tap and then find access top item in my menu, OK, and it's done. So the effect of this is that while you're shooting, the camera will always try to stay above your minimum shutter speed of 1/125th of a second. Right now I'm in manual, so it doesn't really make a big difference, or it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think if I go down with manual, I can go down to whatever I want. But it's more relevant if you are, for instance, shooting in aperture priority. So right now you see that it jumped to 1/125th of a second, which is the minimum shutter speed that I selected. ISO has been dropped from 1600 to 1100, because when I was in manual I was shooting at 1/200 of a second. But the cool thing is, right now if you're taking shots, you will be taking them at 1/125th of a second. But imagine that for the next couple of shots you want to use a faster shutter speed. So all you need to do is you tap the function button. It will bring you in this ISO sensitivity setting page. You go down to minimum shutter speed and you increase it to whatever you think is necessary. maybe 1/250th of a second, and you keep shooting. So right now it will be shooting at 1/250th of a second, and you can see that it has still, of course, used f4, but it has raised the ISO to 2200 to keep the exposure correct. So for the next couple of shots, maybe you want to drop it back down again, so you again tap the function button and you can go straight in and change it back to 1/25th, for instance, and keep shooting at that speed. So that gives you a quick access to the ISO sensitivity settings, and for me the most important part is that I'm able to quickly access the minimum shutter speed of the camera. So anyway, that's it. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'll take a look. If you found this video useful, consider giving me a thumbs up or even subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much for watching, and see you the next time. Bye bye.